the NFL preseason is there for unproven, especially young players, to make a name for themselves. So what I want to do here is highlight 4 rookies who have done so these last 2 weeks plus. Ended up with 3 guys on offense and 1 on defense, who I prepared around 10 clips for, to showcase how they flashed in the first action as pros in limited capacity. For some of them, it could be a sign of things to come once the regular season rolls around, and I might mention a few other names at certain positions towards the end. Without further ado, all I want to add here is that if you enjoy this type of content, make sure to let me know with a like and subscribe to our channel for more of it. So we might start this thing off with Stribling, the sensational rookie receiver for the 49ers. 36 offensive snaps played, he's run 22 routes, been targeted on 13 of those, caught 11 for 109 yards, so an insane target share, as Kyle Shanahan and company clearly wanted to feature and see what they have in him. Nothing special on this first one against the Titans, bottom of the screen in a wide receiver stack. As part of a 2x2 set, he runs a simple speed out against off coverage for 6 yards, but for a 6'2", 210-pound receiver, to be able to whip your hips around this way with no segmentation is a good sign just for his movement skills, and then also holding on to the catch here for the head. Next one, he's the flanker at the top with 2 tight ends inside of him initially, which they motion the offset one across for a balanced set, only to throw him a curl route against the bailing corner. Does a great job of selling the drive phase of the route. Maybe could be a little more efficient throttling this down, but again, pretty solid for a bigger wideout, and then shows really strong hands, plucking the ball out of the air, with the defender crowding the catch point, and finishing this one as well. And then what you want to see from him is to be able to get on top of a corner like this on a straight go route, as the somewhat isolated receiver outside of the tight end at the bottom here of another 2x2. As he's about to get even with his man, he's gonna wipe down that near arm, maintain stacked position, and is ready to look the ball drop into the bucket, yet the placement actually forces him to jump back a little bit, and he gets to showcase awesome concentration to grab and hold onto the ball as he pirouettes around for a really nice catch. Later on a 3rd and 6, the Niners put him inside as the number 2 of the strip set that they motion into, and he's going to be the primary target, or primary read yet again, on what I'd label a drift or medium out drop basically, only he doesn't try to hit a sharp break here, but rather bends off the outside foot. And what I really like to see here is how he just slightly delayed the reaction of the defense as the eyes maintained being pointed down the field for an extra beat rather than snapping his head around. He would be like a yard and a half short here, where he makes the catch. However, he showcases excellent awareness for the sideline, body control to keep his feet in bounds, and then the willingness to fight his way to the sticks after spinning inside, driving through a secondary defender. He also showed no fear going over the middle a couple of times on other catches, but status is moving on to week 2 against the Chargers, where he's now at the bottom of the screen, running another curl route, which once again there may be smaller receivers who are able to be more abrupt at the top of the route, but the way he stems this, initially selling as if he's releasing outside with a little jab that way, then slides underneath, puts the corner on his hip to also shield the ball once it gets there, and then how he attacks the pass away from his frame, actually slightly through the opposite shoulder, which makes the catch even tougher because the defender has that position over there and secures the grab through contact. Great stuff. Which is followed by a couple of big 3rd down conversions. On his first one, they need 4 yards, with the rookie being in the slot at the top of the screen, running a quick out. Ellie is gonna blitz this nickel defender, safety's capped over the top with a cushion, but the quarterback nicely identifies that he needs to throw this hard. The ball actually ends up slightly behind the target, but once again Stribling is able to hold on to it remarkably through this hit as the defender is invited to the catch point, which altogether he's gone a perfect 5 for 5 on contested catch opportunities this preseason. And then with 5 yards to go, he's at the top of the screen once more, now offset, and will run and square in right at the sticks, sort of behind this tight end on this levels element, clearing out a window for him. Nicely run, fully aware of where the sticks are, and actually starts to slide as he secures the catch here, anticipating his linebacker to that side, bumping out from his hook responsibility to make sure the ball isn't jarred loose, and move the 6 here. And the crazy part about this is that when they get to the ensuing 3rd and 7, Stribling would have been open yet again, but the quarterback doesn't give him enough time, breaking across the safety's face as the tip man out of a bunch they're motioning into at the bottom, with the Chargers manning up all these receivers to go with having help underneath. Understandable why Brock Purdy throws this quick out on his first step, seeing if the tight end can fight for the sticks here, but if he takes an extra hitch and hits the rookie on like a glance route over the middle, he might be gone. Instead, it's dropped or can't be called in, and they have to get out the field. But Stribling does get a chance to rip off a chunk gain again when he returns, now with Mac Jones on the center, when the Niners started in a condensed 3-1 set that they cleared a little bit from, with a little out motion by the number 2 initially, putting Stribling in that position on an actual levels concept to go with the back breaking in behind it and a backside fade route. Check out how Stribling provides himself extra space here, as he is a nickel defender leveraged outside here initially of him, further pushes him that way with how he stems his route, then straightens it before breaking inside. Ball is right on time between his primary defender and the boundary safety poaching over towards him. Never loses focus and runs for a few extra yards as those guys collide with each other. Awesome play all around. Before we unfortunately end on a bit of a sour note, with one more massive opportunity literally slipping through Stribling's hands. Another wide receiver stacked at the top here initially, which they bring the tight end in motion through the snap into a quasi bunch, where he fans out to the flat. Number 3 is gonna stem inside to provide more space, and it's quasi one-on-one with the corner having match quarters principles. Stribling is able to run past him on a nicely delivered curl and go route I call it, selling this throttle down and adding a little bit of a head fake. He's off to the races, ball arrives over his inside shoulder, but it gets a little too close to him, seemingly, and he ends up dropping the touchdown. Still, the coaching staff had seen enough and basically sat him for the final 3 quarters, and I wouldn't anticipate him actually playing in the third game. Considering how much they featured him up to this point, I feel pretty strongly that he'll be a big part of the plans this season, especially after losing a first rounder from 2 years ago in Ricky Pearsall to a season-ending injury. So even though the hype had gotten a little bit too much for him, I thought after I actually liked him better than where he was in consensus boards early on in the pre-draft process, and thought him being the top pick of day 2 was pretty wild, I can't deny that he's looked pretty amazing, and as if he can handle being a high volume target, capable of moving across the formation for Cal. Let's move on to player 2 now, our only defender for today, our Mason Thomas, the edge defender for the Kansas City Chiefs. Played 30 snaps in his first preseason game, 15 in his second, all rushing the passer, which might be more of what you're going to see early on from him, as they had more of the starters out there and it looked more like an actual game plan. The rookies collected 7 pressures, 2 quarterback hits and 2 defensive stops, which Pro Football Focus constitutes as a positive tackle for the defense based on down and distance. And we start this one off with an awesome 3-play sequence to close out his first drive as a pro against the Rams. For a player that was often regarded as a pure pass rusher off the edge, coming out of Oklahoma in the pre-draft process, seeing him show up big on a couple of run plays here early was great. First one, he's at the point of attack of this inside zone run, number 51, inside shade of the tight end, who is supposed to combo up to the linebacker number 43 with the left tackle. With that guy trying to shoot the B-gap quickly here, the tackle has to peel off fairly early, allowing Thomas to quickly split this and then help wrap up the running back for just a 2-yard gain. Next snap, it appears to be a 6-on-6 look if you don't take the quarterback into account. Now running inside zone away from him, but the offense also brings a tight end in motion to help seal the backside where Thomas is aligned. The front side does a great job here of clogging up those lanes, forcing the runner to cut this back quickly, where Thomas initially tries to slice underneath, but then redirects, sheds the block, and is able to make another quick stuff. And then as you get to third down, we finally get to see him rush the passer, only here it's not speed and bend off the edge that made him so intriguing in his high moments with the Sooners, but rather his power, coming from this widened alignment, explodes off the ball to threaten the left tackle in his kick set, but as that guy exposes his chest, the rookie buries his hands inside it with great leverage to drive the blocker into the quarterback's lap with the bull rush, forcing him to release this off his back foot, and the receiver not being able to finish the contested catch. Next series, Thomas is on the right edge, which will ultimately be the backside of a dual call. where we have double teams on both the tackles, and the left tackle is tasked with a hinge block on the rookie, where he's supposed to steal him away from the action to where he shouldn't really be a factor on this play. But as soon as the rookie sees the tackle step with the inside foot, knowing he's not the last man on the line of scrimmage following this motion by the wide receiver, he attacks the chest of his opponent and squeezes him into the pile, forcing the runner to stop his feet. And now this linebacker number 31, backdooring his block, has enough time to be able to drag that guy down for another quick stuff. Which brings us to the final play of the first half, just 1 second left on the clock, with the Rams being past midfield and trying to set up a Hail Mary. This is more of what we're used to seeing from Thomas, now getting to pin his ears back, coming off the left side. The O-line is actually going to slide his way, but the tackle over there more so slides outside, rather than making sure he gains enough depth as well, meaning a well-timed chop to the near hand is enough to get him past, and then it's his ability to flip the hips towards the quarterback, moving away from him, chase him down, which nearly leads to him having a strip sack, but it was actually called an incompletion just a split second later, and it might have been called differently. In week 2 against the Bucks, he first actually gets his hands on the ball, not blindly shooting up the field when it gets to 3rd and long, because on his first snap of the day, he ended up having a screen pass thrown right by his helmet, and that is something he's gonna mentally note for the next time he gets out there, as he returns on a 3rd and 11. Now he's alert for it, recognizes the tackle releasing inside of him, gets his hands up and bats down the pass, which he was ready to scoop up and take back to the end zone if it was ruled a lateral. Chiefs bring him back on for a 3rd and 13 now, rushing off the right edge, where this time Tampa Bay actually has chip help on him, but it's detached tight end here, or a hip slot receiver, whatever you want to call him, leading Thomas to jump inside maybe a little bit quicker even than intended here. The guard slides out towards him, as they actually have this ET twist set up where he's going to go first, and then the tackle after delaying this is going to loop outside. So the rookie kind of has to fight through traffic here. But as he sees the quarterback spin to his blind side, number 51 mirrors the movement and erases that angle towards the sideline, again gets his hands up as he's closing in. The fellow rookie undrafted quarterback Jalen Daniels is able to complete the pass towards the sideline here somehow, but well short of the sticks. Thomas had 2 more hurries in the first half of that game. First on this 2nd and long, rushing off the offense's right side, out of the 4-point track stance, he makes sure to really threaten with speed up the arc, forcing the tackle to commit his shoulders and then convert to power before feeling like he can slide off the contact and reach out with his outside arm, nearly tomahawking the ball out from behind, but unfortunately the quarterback feels it, reduces that shoulder and escapes the pocket. He's able to drop the ball off underneath, but only for a short gain. And lastly, on the ensuing 3rd and 3, from that same alignment, he takes 2 steps up the field before jabbing inside on this Euro step maneuver, followed up by a 2-handed swipe down I believe it is, but at least he clubs the outside arm, and then to snap in his hips once more to get them pointed at the quarterback, along with the ankle mobility to carve his path enough to just heat that guy up, as he somewhat is able to stay on his feet here running the arc, and even if there wasn't much of a chance to actually complete this, the ball ends up landing out of bounds on his fade throw. So even though he absolutely made his mark rushing the passer and should immediately be that speed threat off the edge that the Chiefs have been so desperately lacking for the last couple of years, the all indication is that our Mason can be a full-time contributor, particularly if Casey adopts more out fronts and he's an outside linebacker on early downs before really making hay in defined passing situations. Let's get back to big guys running fast, as we're going to talk about Mike Washington Jr., the rookie running back for the Raiders, who is selected in the 4th round. He's played 43 offensive snaps so far, plus a couple of kick returns, carried the ball 15 times for 119 yards, caught both passes that he got his hands on for another 18, and he didn't allow pressure on his quarterback on the very limited sample size of his first 4 snaps in protection. Which is actually where I want to start here, as the Raiders first come out with tight ends to either end of the line here against this 5-2 front by the Cardinals, and they'll drop back straight from under center with a half-line slide, leaving the rookie responsible for the left A-gap from the defense's perspective. Linebacker Mac Wilson, number 1, is going to blitz right up the gut, and check out Washington meeting him in the hole, giving his quarterback just enough time to get the ball out, nicely squares him up, and creates this stalemate. Solid job. Before later on to release him through that same gap that we just talked about, where he's not going to have free access, because this D-tackle Walter Nolan number 97 is gonna counter inside and sort of just be in his path. Yet unlike many backs who'd get clobbered here and knocked off the route, Washington actually gets a solid lick on the 300-pounder, neutralizing the rush before sitting over the ball and getting a solid gain on a dump off, which would be called back for hold elsewhere. So not necessarily as if he's just neutralizing pass rushers all over the place, but clearly not afraid to stick his face in the fan with promising early returns for someone who had room to grow in that regard coming out of Arkansas, which that final year was his first as the de facto primary option really at all in college. Now let's get to him actually running the football. Here Vegas has two tight ends to the right, plus Jack Besh as a hip slot, the other way so close to an actual jumbo set, which they're gonna run wide zone towards that strong side, and Washington's gonna attack that open C gap, the bubble, because initially the Cardinals have nobody aligned that way. Ends up giving a little nod as if he's about to cut up between these two blockers on the edge, before capturing the edge for a 7-yard gain, running through a tackle at the sideline. Unfortunately also called back on a weak holding call as number 85 gets a little grabby, and maybe he should have taken that seam when it presented itself, but let's keep that in mind and get back to it later. As we go to I formation here next, tight end to the left, fullback right in front of Washington. Besh once more the opposite way initially, motions across but stays in that reduced split to dig out that safety who's gonna step down as a result of this, and they call up an old school ISO play with number 0 as the mic call, who the fullback is gonna lead up against. Nice job of creating displacement on those down blocks away from it, especially by the left tackle on his 4-eye technique, really digging him out of that B gap. And what Washington does here is slightly slow down his feet as he approaches this, getting all three of these defenders leveraged that way before hitting a little jump cut to evade traffic, and then immediately getting his cleats back into the ground to get vertical here, sliding inside of the unblocked cornerback, slipping through the diving tackling attempt, stiff arming the deep safety, and then turning on the jets to rip off a 53-yard scamper. Not quite sure if that 4.3 in the 40 actually shows up on the field quite yet, but that gear for a 228-pound back can be devastating. Moving on to the Texans game now, this initially looks like a double tight end or ace duo look to the right, but they bring Connor Haywood back into a more traditional fullback alignment for a lead draw play intended through the right A-gap. As we watch this unfold, that lane's gonna get squeezed down from both sides, and Washington ends up trying to drive the pile here initially after stepping around the feet of his lineman. Yet when he realizes nobody's a firm wrap on him, he can bounce off it, pull for a couple of other swinging arms, and then number 22 is just able to hawk him down from behind to deny a long touchdown here. Now we started in an offset I formation away from the tight end, so fullback to the right side. The Raiders bring a wide receiver and jet motion that way, only to run what I think is another ISO the opposite way, which based on head counts, as we look here, 1, 2, 3, 4 against 1, 2, 3, 4, plus the safety behind it, and this linebacker from the backside having a chance to scrape over. Houston should be able to pretty easily fit this, but what's going to happen here is that Jadeveon Clowney at the end to the right side tries to jump inside of the tackle, linebacker behind it is able to cover for him and scrape outside, but another rookie has a head of steam, is able to swipe down the drag down tackling attempt, stops his feet at the sideline, and gains a couple of extra yards for 9 total. Here they set up a screen pass for him, faking another inside run from that offset I formation, before flaring him out. Does a nice job of not tipping the defense off early here, as you watch him commit to the run fake, turns for the ball, a little stutter, as if he's gonna cut inside here, which allows the guard to get to the outside shoulder of this linebacker, bouncing around that, and again, just getting tripped up as he's about to win the sideline on them. Pretty basic inside zone to the weak side here next, away from the tight punch to the right. The D-line is in the underfront, meaning the free technique is aligned towards the weak side, which in turn tells Washington that most likely he'll have to cut off his guard's backside here, but he does enough with that initial flow to open up a nice lane as he bends up the field here. Center gets up to the place up backer, and I love how instead of trying to work around this here, as number 59 has leverage on the play side, engaging with that blocker who they climb up towards and avoiding contact, he's gonna drop his pad and runs right through that man's chest for a hard-fought 5 yards. Which is kind of the same thing here on this lead toss, where they bring this offside tight end across to the defense's left to give him that running start, The intent is to combo off these 3 defensive linemen, other than the backs at the end is going to go unblocked, to those linebackers, which is an ambitious task considering that the second level here is now allowed to run freely initially, and as the man in motion targets the corner out here, what ends up happening is this tight end decides to instead peel back on the Mike backer, number 59, and now it's number 56, bumping out to meet the rookie in the alley, yet instead of trying to make him miss, slice underneath and allow the pursuit to catch up, the Rook brings the thunder, running through this tackle, pulls himself forwards for a couple of extra yards, and that's all a gain. That's something people criticized about him as a draft prospect, not always running up to his size, but he flashed the ability to punish defenders here. And we'll close out with another catch. Simple button hook over the middle, sort of replacing this linebacker who's gonna drift. And as we watch Washington run this here, works up to depth quickly, sits this down acutely, feels the linebacker driving on him, and turns through the opposite shoulder to avoid the tackle, but immediately gets vertical again and nearly moves the chains on a 1st and 10. Simple dump off, but also easy yardage here. No drops or fumbles, looked like he was ready to bring the fight to blitzes and pass pro, starting to finish strong as a runner, clearly very explosive for his frame, even if I don't quite buy the 4.3 all the way in terms of true game speed. Nonetheless, he's made a strong case to cement himself as the RB2 in Vegas, and now with Ashton Jeanty having gone down in practice, with a scary looking ankle injury reportedly, could he miss some time or at least share some more touches with the rookie? I'm intrigued about the possibility of this 1-2 punch, for as good as Jeanty was as a prospect himself and a top 10 pick last year, who should be getting the majority of the work. Love myself some Katron Allen, who I believe is the most complete back in Washington, had 23 carries in his preseason debut and has run tough for them. And Jonah Coleman has been one of my favorites for a while, actually from the University of Washington, now in Denver, where he's in line for what might be a pretty prominent role if/when J.K. Dobbins gets banged up again, as another well-rounded efficient player at the position, who showed up pretty well in his preseason debut and was pulled early in week 2 because he had shown enough. But now let's get to a 4th and final player for today, Athan Kaliakmanis, the former Rutgers quarterback, who was a 7th round pick for the Washington Commanders. He's gone 17 of 24 through 2 preseason games, which is just under that 71% completion rate, 249 yards, no touchdowns or interceptions, but PFF has credited him with 2 big-time throws and no turnover-worthy plays, while boasting an average depth of target of 10.3 yards. And along with the 2 actual drops that his targets were credited with, there was another throw I'll show you here in a minute that should have been caught and made his stats look even better. Very annoying here, as I don't know if it's NFL Pro or the camera operators in Washington just completely messing this up, but the first 4 plays here from week 1 against the Dolphins only showed the clock when I went to the All-22, so I had to go with the broadcast angle. Not optimal for evaluating quarterbacks, but will survive. On this 1st and 10 to start things off here, the Commanders are under center with 2 tight ends to the left and twins the other way, and they're gonna play action fake a dive into a 3-level flood concept with the back breaking out to the flats after releasing through, keeping both tight ends in protection. And looking at the operation here, back foot hits at the top of the drop for Kaliakmanis, a quick hitch, and then drives this ball to the slot receiver at the sideline for a 16-yard gain, making it look effortless. Then on 3rd and 13, they come out in a 3x1 with the X in a reduced split, running a curl route to go with this dagger concept to the field, where the tight end's gonna chip at the end before flaring out to the flats. I'd probably label this cover 6 or 8, depending on your lingo defensively, since it's hard to see from this angle, where the Dolphins are clouding the backside, meaning they have the corner low and the safety shading over the top, and then this outside corner and the safety are responsible for matching numbers 1 and 2 with those quarters principles, while someone underneath has to bump out with the tight end as this plays out. Quarterback lets this go early, as the receiver does a nice job of pushing up during the drive phase of the route, ripping the pass between the hook and the flat defender on the dig route, but the corner does well to recover, and the receiver can't quite finish the catch, which is a bummer. Later on, 1st and 10, Washington comes out in a much more condensed 2x2 set, with tight ends to either hip of the tackle, off the line of scrimmage, with one of them sifting across as they fake split zone to the left for basically a 2-man concept, deep post and high cross coming in behind it. What is wide out at the top of the screen is really pacing himself, plus the back flaring out to the flats after faking the run. You see this boundary safety buzzing down with the snap imminent, and this may incentivize the Mike backer to gain some more depth here, as he's not really fooled by the run action, and is gonna sit in that window over the middle of the field. So as the rookie quarterback sees this, and it's kinda cloudy to try to loft the pass over the top here, he holds onto the ball for an extra beat, before lofting it over the second level to ultimately a pretty wide open receiver for a chunk gain, because he allows this to play out. And then on 3rd and 4, pretty simple one as the commander started with a bunch to the right. Exon is really cut down split the other way. The motion number 3 across into a mesh concept where this innermost receiver is the de facto rub player, opening up the shallow cross coming in behind it, with the back pull on the other linebacker, whipping up the rail on the wheel route. But Kaliakmanis stands strong against pressure off the edge, ball out on the numbers, and 12 yards are way more than the action needed with the nice run after catch. Week 2 at Detroit, finally back to the all-22. On the initial 3rd and 3, they come out in another 3-by-1 set, but having the backside receiver in once again a really cut down split allows them to motion the back out into the boundary for an empty set. Basically just running off both corners. I guess the flanker at the top here has the option to snap this off, but it's about those underneath areas where they have a spot route by the X initially, and what I believe is supposed to be a wrap element, but it's 2 innermost receivers towards the trip side. Only number 2 gets knocked of course pretty badly, and the whole timing is thrown off. So again, as we watch this unfold, and it's not really pretty, but Kaliakmanis now has to climb facing pressure off his blind side, by the D-end jumping inside, and because the Lions are in cover 3 with the deep safety as the next closest man still, he can hit that designated target, break in over the middle of the field, delay it anyway, releasing off the wrong foot. Watch it again from the end zone view, takes a little bit of time to set this up here, but that D-end is gonna jump inside of the tackle here. So he suddenly has to move, but keeps his wherewithal, a little awkward on the release, but gets the job done, and the chains moving. Check out this throw late on 2nd down, where Washington is in 11 personnel, stacks up the 2 wide receivers at the top here, which is where the rookie wants to go the entire way, as he sends this offset man on a little bumper motion into a hitch route to bind this corner number 38 and set up the slot fade against cover 1, meaning we have 1 deep safety and man coverage across the board otherwise, which this is gonna be an awesome one-handed grab by the receiver Jaden Bradley, but that ball is perfect, away from the closing center fielder, over the head of the trailing nickelback, but drops down just enough before it takes too long. We'll watch it one more time from the other angle, because now you can see that this edge rusher off the left side hits him on the release, but doesn't seem to affect the throw at all here, and again, insane finish by Bradley to haul this one in. Here Kaliakmanis actually gets help by the fellow rookie receiver Antonio Williams with a great catch, but still makes the right decision to convert 3rd and 10 here on what you might call a levels concept, with crosses at different levels. Not quite sure if the spacing is perfect or as intended here, plus a deep in cut by the flanker and a shallow cross by the backside X. Detroit is running 1 robber now, meaning you have man on all the receivers, but the boundary safety helps catch the first route coming across, plus you have that deep safety of course. The quarterback's gonna see number 17 commit here to number 3, which tells him to go to number 2 coming in behind it. Ball location could certainly be better, but good enough for someone to make a play for him and go way beyond the sticks. Just a nice rip to a curl route backside, where the motion into condensed 2x2 with what ends up being 2 offset tight ends to either side chipping, and then flaring out to the flats. The back's going to sit down after token run fake over the middle, and the 2 wideouts and deep curls. Quarterback starts out to the right, where theoretically there's more space, but a clearer lane here going back to Bradley based on the width this linebacker's getting here. And the ball once again is right on the money right as it comes out of his break. And last, but certainly not least, the longest completion so far for him as a pro. Trips to the right, sends number 2 on this back and forth motion to confirm man coverage. You see him check into this, as the deep safety is shaded towards the opposite hash, So that's a green light for a straight up go route by the flanker against bump and run coverage. Absolutely perfectly drops this ball into the bucket to another undrafted rookie receiver, Nick Nash, for 55 yards. Actually, whilst the pocket is being pushed back into his lap. Just absolutely beautiful. Before the receiver gets dragged down ultimately. Athan Kaliakmanis is a top 10 quarterback in his draft class, which was pretty unheralded. Marcus Mariota has been very much a capable backup in Washington, unlike in some other stops, where he literally disappeared. But I would not be surprised at all if the rookie ends up being the long-term backup to Jaden Daniels, because he's ready to go mentally, it appears, to go with the arm talent to access all areas of the field, and maybe a little bit more mobility than he might get credit for. And this is the point where I have to note that these rookie quarterbacks have really shown out in preseason, and I'm not even talking about the ones that were picked early. Fernando Mendoza was a little up and down, but the giddy up in his arm is undeniable. While Ty Simpson looked much better on the stat sheet, but didn't necessarily make any impressive throws with a bunch of layups and bootlegs and stuff like that, the coaches probably just trying to get him some confidence. Carson Beck had one hell of a debut in the Hall of Fame game, attacking down the field for the Cardinals, but we weren't able to see him in the 2 games since, unfortunately, and that's going to be an interesting story if he ever gets a chance to start this year. Drew Allen seemingly has gotten rid of some kinks in his throwing motion and looked much better than anticipated as a big, strong arm pocket passer with the Steelers. After I was really out on him coming out of Penn State, but starting to make a name for himself among that quarterback competition behind Aaron Rodgers and for future years. Garrett Nussmeier showed why he should have never been a 7th rounder, flashing impressive pocket movement and ability to deliver off-platform for the Chiefs to back up Patrick Mahomes possibly long term. Heck, even a couple of undrafted guys, Joe Fagnano for the Ravens and Micah Jalen Daniels with the Bucks, really look comfortable out there against admittedly vanilla defenses, but still. For as underwhelming as this quarterback class might have seemed, there might be a little bit more to it than we wanted to give it credit for initially, to at least hang around as backups, and more in a couple of occasions. But that's gonna do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know by leaving a thumbs up and subscribing for more content like this. Also feel free to drop a couple of names who have flashed to you in preseason in the comments. Last week I released my annual Fantasy Diamonds video, where I discussed some players who I believe are undervalued based on where they're currently going in your fantasy drafts. If you still have yours ahead of you, or want to lock in some seasonal player props, make sure to check it out. I'll be back next week on Sunday most likely, with one of our key pieces every single year, predicting the entire 2026 NFL season, all the awards, playoff teams, Super Bowl matchup. Last year I called the Bears ending up as the number 2 seed in the NFC, the Lions and Commanders missing the playoffs, the Patriots winning double-digit games. I certainly wasn't perfect, and what makes football so cool is how unpredictable it is, but I can promise you that a lot of work will have gone into the analysis, and I'd love for you guys to check it out. So until then, see you later. Peace!